Friends, greetings. Just now, the conversation between Zelensky and Trump has concluded. It lasted a whole hour. And there are already the first details. There is a post from Trump and a post from Vance that are ready to share the details of their conversation with us. Because yesterday's conversation, well, and Trump also says this, it was based on today's conversation was based on yesterday's with Putin. And it's clear that Trump's mood, Sanos, is not very pleasant for us. Why? And this is not so much about Trump, because Trump is good, cool, and super for everyone. But this is reflected in Divins, who has now started setting the conversation's dynamics, and in Vitkov. Let me explain everything to you now, and plus, politics, it says, gave a little more detail, like Trump supporters reached out to Timoshenko and Poroshenko, it turns out, through his son, through many other officials, including and even non-officials such as Tanker Carlson. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to know the latest news and real-time analysis from the negotiation track, and generally understand what is happening in the country. So subscribe, it's important. Secondly, make a donation. We are collecting the final funds to send 1.2 million to the third assault. We are carefully and meticulously buying 9 bombers and specifically acquiring a wonderful night vision device so they can conduct evening hunts on the occupiers, and so that our guys can efficiently and successfully destroy the occupiers both day and night. So subscribe, donate, and we will begin with you. Donald Trump just wrote a tweet saying the conversation went great. As usual, all his conversations go like this. I mean, conversations with Trump don't happen any other way. And in this great conversation, he says that more details will be provided by my advisors, assistants, Rubai Vance, Waltz, and the rest of the team. Well, it seems like, okay, the conversation went great, so that's good. But that's if you only read Trump's tweet. If you delve into the tweet that was just spread in the media as breaking news, as a super hot news item, then we see something different. Zelensky clearly stated that Trump tells Vance that no one can force us into negotiations with Russia. In fact, he laughed at the very idea of it and said that Ukraine is an independent state, and strongly emphasized quite strongly that absolutely no one can force us into anything. That is to say, Trump, with his team, in an attempt to pressure our president, they attempted to push him in various ways. What I told you, there were 3 scenarios. Trump could have strengthened Ukraine, switched focus, or tried to break us. They decided to break us. If you read, Trump's conversation with Zelensky ended. Great. It went very well. A significant part of the conversation was based on yesterday's quoting verbatim. With the conversation, we hope the goal of aligning the requests and needs of Russia and Ukraine, we are on the right path. And I will ask Ruby and the rest of the advisors to share everything. I am quoting verbatim. Vance also gave it to you verbatim. Before this, literally an hour ago, on the lawn, on the porch of the White House, Vitkov was speaking. And he says, yes, I heard, in the morning I was informed that 7 drones flew over Ukraine. 7. Not 150, 146 to be exact, and ballistic. 150 and ballistic. Vitkov says 7. But he says, I believe Putin couldn't have done this. Moreover, it was done before we talked to him. Although we know that afterwards. And then all night, those who were in Kiev know this well. But also Kharkiv, Kherson, Dnipropetrovsk, Odessa, and other regions tried to shoot at us all night. If it weren't for our air defense personnel, we would have had just hundreds, thousands of casualties. And thanks to these extraordinary people, today we do not have the results that Russia wanted. But there is a lot of damage. But Vitkov doesn't see this. Vitkov sees it as great. Putin says, I believe him. He says, I believe him that he couldn't have done this, and says, in a few weeks, hopefully, there will be a final peace, says Vitkov. And that's really cool. It aligns much with the tone of J. Divins, who says, well, certainly again, from which it follows that they were trying to pressure Zelensky again. Friends, stop. You're pressing in the wrong place. Press on Putin a little, trim this monster. And you're pressuring the one who is defending and protecting all of you in the Western world. We took the biggest hit, but it seems like no one sees this and no one hears it. They chose the worst scenario to pressure the one who was attacked. Have you decided to corner us from both sides to squeeze us? This is a very dishonest policy. And Trump is playing the good cop, everything is great, great deal. But we don't see this great deal. This is not about selling real estate to Russian oligarchs. Here, pressure needs to be put on Putin because Putin is outplaying Trump. It seems like Trump hasn't read the morning American press. It seems like he hasn't read it, that it was written for him. Well, let's see what the current policy came out with this morning. They say that Trump is unable to make Putin stop the shooting. That's why his people like Tucker Carlson. What is Tucker Carlson doing in political negotiations? He's a pseudo-blogger, pseudo-journalist. The claim that Ukraine is selling weapons to Mexican drug cartels, is that a fact? What fact? How is it proven? This is surrealism and some kind of postmodernism when he himself calls things facts and thinks they become facts after that. What is he? Some kind of media Midas who touches a word and it becomes a fact. Listen, what Tucker Carlson says, who interviewed Putin, Durov, Padawan, Lavrov and others, he just whitewashes and engages in propaganda for these fascist regimes in his various media appearances. Now they will negotiate with Tymoshenko and Poroshenko, asking if they want to be an alternative to President Zelensky. We'll sort everything out here with you. We see that Poroshenko has already given an interview to the German. He says, that's it, we need to stop. There's no need to do anything. I know how to solve everything. So Poroshenko is not against playing with them. Tymoshenko is not against playing with them. Do you understand? Zaluzhny made a statement and said, no, such an order of things leads to the collapse of US leadership in the world. This immediately pushed back like, now we need to work for the country. Now we need to help the country all together to be in this boat. And they are trying at our expense to extract a condition with Putin. This is a very negative story because he chooses the simplest ones, such as Trump is meant, he's the best for himself and Putin, scenario, but not for us. He did not draw conclusions from yesterday's conversation. Do you understand? And this is very negative, although world leaders reacted very critically and catastrophically to this conversation yesterday. Well, except for one, sorry, I won't lie. Except for one, Orban said, "Mwah, super," he says, negotiations. Let's finish off Ukraine. German Defense Minister Pistorius called the agreement between Putin and Trump with zero result, adding that Ukraine's energy infrastructure is best protected and Russia has not stopped the attacks. Apparently, after this super fateful decision. In his opinion, Putin is playing a game and sooner or later Trump will have to respond. The Kremlin's demands to stop military support for Ukraine were called unacceptable by the minister. President of Finland, Alexander Stubb, where by the way is currently located. Zelensky, supported by Pistorius, said that Ukraine's right to receive support from partners to defend against aggression cannot be limited, neither now nor in the future. Scholz and French President Macron confirmed that their countries will continue to send military aid to Ukraine. Ukraine can count on us, says the German Chancellor. He is supported by the French president, so what? In any case, choosing to refrain from strikes on infrastructure could be the first step towards a just and long-lasting peace as a gesture of goodwill, says Scholz. Macron urged Europe to arm itself. By the way, they have now adopted a white paper. They will arm themselves, they will talk about it, and they will do everything possible to strengthen themselves. But we see that Trump is not strengthening us right now. Although, to give credit, Trump helped 107 Ukrainian prisoners of war return home. Let me remind you, more than 5,000 Ukrainian military personnel are in Russian prisons. Yes, Trump might present this as a super negotiation bit, but let's also be honest. 97, by the way, excuse me. We value every hero, we value every Ukrainian who has returned, but this is not enough to make such grand statements. So far, we have not seen support for Ukraine following these talks. We are waiting for Zelensky's statement, hoping he will provide more information. Meanwhile, Trump's advisor is negotiating in Ols for a meeting in Riyadh, and Witkov says that in the coming weeks they will try to stop the hostilities altogether. What did Zelensky say from us? Experts in energy and infrastructure will travel to Riyadh with the Americans. Friends, this is all the most important information available at this moment after the talks between Trump and Zelensky. We see that Trump is not changing his strategy. His sympathies for Putin are still greater than his love for Ukraine. Friends, subscribe to this YouTube channel, make a donation. You see, the states are not in a hurry. They are trying very hard to help us now, trying to break us, to push us through. Right why Trump, after yesterday's fiasco, hasn't changed his mind and doesn't show himself as strong in relation to Putin. What is... Sorry, almost said. Damn it all, the reason. Good thing I didn't say it. Write in the comments. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones. See ya.